Okay, let's dive right in. There's this really dramatic headline that dropped September 29th. A potential 100% tariff on all movies made outside the U.S.
Yeah, it's a huge number, 100%. Makes for a great headline, very political. But when you actually look at the sources we have gathered, Reuters, AP, Business Insider, even tax experts like Avalara,
Mm.
you see the conversation shift really fast.
Shifts from politics to
It's
logistics.
exactly to the, frankly, logistical nightmare of trying to tax creativity this way. It's like
Hmm.
trying to apply, old school trade rules for steel or something onto intellectual property in the digital age.
Right. So our mission here for this deep dive is to cut through that. We're looking at all this source material, AP News, Entertainment Weekly, ITV News, a
Yeah.
lot to figure out the practical side, the legal, the economic realities. Can this even work?
And we need to set the stage, I think. Entertainment Weekly pointed out this isn't the first time the idea has been floated, but Hollywood is properly rattled this time.
Why not?
Because their whole business model, I mean, the foundation for big movies, relies on shooting overseas. We're talking Canada, the UK, Eastern Europe, Australia, India. It's standard
For
practice.
tax breaks, mainly.
Cheaper labor.
That's a huge part of it, yeah. So hitting those productions with a 100% tariff, that's not just trimming budgets. That could be, well, catastrophic for how films get made.
And it's not niche stuff. Think about Vancouver basically doubling as every major U.S. city or all the post-production happening in London. Major studios have big operations there.
Absolutely. If that model gets hit with this tax, the cost of making a big summer blockbuster could literally double overnight.
Wow. Okay,
Right.
so that effectively just stops international co-productions in their
It
tracks.
pretty much has to, right? Which brings us straight to the first huge problem, something AP News really highlighted. What is an imported movie today? It's not like a can of film physically crossing a border anymore.
This is that Frankenstein problem people talk about. That's a good way to put it, yeah. The sources show how complex it is. You might shoot a movie in LA and Vancouver. Okay. Sound mixing in New York. But then the visual effects, maybe the most expensive part, that's done in London. And the final edit, maybe Seoul.
So,
Uh-huh.
where's it from? For tax purposes.
Exactly. That's the multi-billion-dollar question. Studios planning for next year need to know, does made abroad mean like over 50% of the budget was spent overseas? Or is it way stricter?
Like, if any part of it is foreign, even just 5% of the post-production sound, boom, 100% tariff.
That's the fear. If it's any foreign involvement, then basically all international collaboration just stops. Dead.
And the uncertainty alone must be freezing investment. If you're gambling hundreds of millions on a film,
You can't operate like that. You can't risk the budget doubling the second it hits the U.S. market. So you just hold back. You don't greenlight those co-productions.
which hurts everyone, not just the foreign partners.
Right. It hurts the U.S. studios, too, because they rely on those global financial deals.
Okay, and then there's the whole digital thing. Tariffs were designed for physical goods. Steel, cars, wine. Avalara, the tax guys, really broke this down. A movie now is mostly a digital file. It's licensed property.
Yeah, it completely changes what the border even is.
Mm-hmm.
When does a movie become an import? Is it when, say, Netflix US buys the streaming rights from a French company?
Or is it only when I, sitting in the U.S., actually hit play and stream it from a server that might be just down the road in Virginia?
It's a fundamental question. And if the idea is to slap a 100% tariff on the licensing contract itself, well, it's not really a trade fee anymore, is it?
That sounds like a whole new kind of tax on the right to distribute.
It could just crush distribution deals,
Yeah.
especially for smaller indie films or foreign shows trying to get into the U.S. market. They just couldn't afford it.
And the complexity, I mean, taxing a car at the port is one thing.
Yeah.
Taxing the right to stream a digital file.
You're potentially rewriting international IP law. You're changing how the government even defines and regulates digital stuff crossing borders. It's huge.
Which leads us straight into the legal minefield, doesn't it? And the massive financial stakes. If this policy actually happened, lawyers would be filing suits instantly.
Oh, absolutely. Let's start there with the legal side. ITV News reminded us the courts have already stepped in on similar things. Earlier this year, they blocked some other big global tariffs,
On what grounds?
basically saying it was an overstep of executive authority. So the argument against a movie tariff might not even be about trade rules initially. It could be about the limits of presidential power itself.
Ah, I see. So it's less, this tariff is bad for business, and more, you don't have the authority to do this unilaterally.
That's likely the first line of attack, yeah. The studio legal teams would be all over that very quickly.
And the scale of that response would be huge.
Unprecedented, probably. For something like this to stick, Congress would likely need to get involved, pass actual legislation, and, well, good luck getting that through for something targeting one of America's biggest global exports.
Right. The path is full of legal traps.
To put it mildly, yes, a minefield.
Okay, but let's sidestep the courts for a second. Let's imagine somehow this tariff goes into effect. Business Insider looked at the money side. Where does that cost end up?
Well, where does it always end up? With the consumer.
So us?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
If a big international movie suddenly costs double to bring into the U.S. market, the studios aren't just going to eat that loss. They're businesses. They have shareholders.
They'll pass it on. Higher ticket prices.
Yeah.
More expensive streaming subscriptions.
Almost certainly. Higher tickets, higher monthly fees for Netflix, Hulu, Max, all of them. They'd have to cover the increased cost of buying content.
And there's a cultural cost too, right? Beyond just the price tag.
Definitely. Think about those smaller, maybe award-winning films from other countries. South Korea, France, wherever. If distributing them suddenly costs twice as much.
The risk is too high for U.S. distributors.
Exactly. They'll just stop importing them. So you get fewer international voices, less diversity in stories, maybe just more of the same big franchise stuff. U.S. audiences lose out.
That risk gets even bigger when you think about retaliation.
Right.
That feels like the scariest part for Hollywood's bottom line.
It's huge. Because if the U.S. starts taxing French films or British films...
They'll just do the same back to American films?
Instantly. You can bet the EU, Canada, maybe China, they'd all slap mirror tariffs on U.S. movies. And this is where it really bites Hollywood, because this would hit the films that are definitely made in America.
The big Marvel movies, the Disney blockbusters.
Yep, and the sources are clear. Those huge franchises often make, 60–70% of their total money overseas.
Wow, that much.
Yeah. So if those movies suddenly get locked out of Europe or China or face a 100% retaliatory tax there, the damage to the U.S. film industry could be astronomical, way bigger than any potential gain from maybe shifting a few jobs back home.
So the policy aimed at helping American film could end up crippling its most successful part, its global reach.
It's deeply ironic, isn't it? You really can't separate Hollywood from the global market anymore. They're completely intertwined.
That interdependence, it really makes you wonder, is this like a serious plan? Or do you agree with what some sources suggest, that it feels more like political theater?
Given all these hurdles, the legal mess, the digital problem, the retaliation risk, it certainly feels more like theater. The language is strong. It signals, defending American jobs, punishing freeloaders.
Serves a political purpose.
Right. But the actual how, the mechanism for defining the import, for taxing digital IP, there's just no clear blueprint offered. It feels more like an idea thrown out there than a worked-out policy.
So if the real goal is to keep film jobs in the U.S., the critics are saying there are better ways, right? Easier, less disruptive ways.
Absolutely. That's the key contrast that comes up. Tariffs versus incentives, instead of building these walls that cause chaos and invite retaliation.
Just make it more attractive to film here.
Exactly. Boost the domestic subsidies, the tax credits. We know this works.
Yeah, we see states doing it already. Georgia, New Mexico.
Yeah.
They've pulled in huge productions with big incentives.
They've successfully competed with Canada and the UK on cost, using those financial parrots. Expanding that model seems way more practical. Keep things competitive, give studios a clear, predictable reason to shoot at home.
Use the carrot, not the giant, messy, potentially illegal stick.
Precisely. Keep the door open for international collaboration and money, but make staying home the smart financial move.
Okay, but let's play devil's advocate one last time. Say the tariff does happen, maybe a watered-down version. Hollywood's incredibly resourceful, right? They know legal loopholes. How would they react?
Oh, they're masters at adapting. First, you'd see a massive lobbying push. Money pouring into D.C. to dilute the rules, delay them, find exceptions.
Standard procedure.
Standard procedure. But on the ground, they'd look for ways to change the film's legal status. Maybe they shift just enough work back stateside, a bit of editing, some sound mixing, to technically meet some minimum made-in-America threshold if one exists.
Like gaming the system.
Basically, yes.
Right.
Or they get creative with ownership.
How did that work? Reclassifying the IP?
That's the more complex route. Since the tariff is on importing foreign property, maybe they restructure things, set up a shell company somewhere neutral, offshore perhaps. That company technically owns the finished film.
Ah, so the U.S. studio isn't importing it, they're just licensing it from this other entity.
Exactly. It tries to mask the film's nationality for tariff purposes, turns it into a complex licensing deal. not a simple import.
Which sounds like an absolute nightmare for the government to track and
A
enforce.
total enforcement headache. But, amidst all that potential chaos, the sources did point to one possible upside, depending on your perspective. Local winners.
How so?
Well, if shooting overseas suddenly becomes way too expensive or risky, that work has to go somewhere.
And places already set up to handle it would benefit.
Right. Cities like Atlanta, Albuquerque, maybe New Orleans, places with existing crews, stages, and crucially, those state-level incentives we talked about, they could see a boom. They'd absorb the work fleeing Canada or the UK.
So you could end up with these pockets of economic success within the U.S.
Exactly. Local winners, even if the policy causes global instability for the industry overall, it's a really volatile dynamic.
A dramatic realignment, really.
A fundamental shift in where the money and jobs go.
Okay, so we started with this huge threat, 100% tariff. We've unpacked the massive ambiguity. What even is a foreign film now? The challenge of taxing digital stuff, the threat to streaming, and this huge risk of global retaliation that could cripple Hollywood's biggest strength.
Yeah, and my final thought is just modern filmmaking is global. It thrives on that mix of talent, resources, ideas crossing borders. Any policy like this, even if it gets softened, fundamentally pushes against that. It forces a choice between trying to protect jobs locally and maintaining that cultural richness and diversity we get from global collaboration. And inevitably, something has to give.
Which really leaves a question for you, the listener, to think about. The sources kind of lay out this choice. Would you be willing to pay more? Maybe a bit more, maybe a lot more for your movie tickets, for your streaming services, if you knew it guaranteed the movie was entirely made in America? Or do you value Hollywood's ability to tap into global talent, to bring stories from everywhere to your screen, even if it means the complex international production model continues?